At 48 physical years of age, the activity of Kundalini force in humans takes on new patterns. These Lemurians intensify their meditations and physical exercise to hasten the change. The body was placed in quiet positions, one after another, while taking deep and rhythmic breaths. Additional disciplines, called tapas, were often administered to control the fire of Kundalini during the times of adjustment, to help maintain perfect equanimity. When given the tapas of mauna, or silence, herbs were ingested to help strengthen the connection to inner bodies. Those who had mated prior to entering the monastery worked diligently during the 6-year period prior to age 54 to redirect this powerful streamer of force. Kundalini is also the substance which, with our inner connection with the gurus, is made. Aum. Zenith-awaited Shaivite monastics, guided always by their shastras, which were more complete in those far-off days than now. They admonish us that tapas purify the inner mind, affecting changes in the astral body, tapas to incinerate the karmas, tapas to harness the desires, tapas to test for strength, and tapas to silence thought, all under the diligent direction of the Satguru, whom they all venerated, Guru Deva. Chapter 26, Kundalini Tapas. The Kundalini, which permeates as a ray the physical body during the transmission from the Kali Yuga to the Satshiva Yuga, determines the course of the individual life pattern of the soul until he has lived on the planet 47 years. It is at the age of 48 that a new course and intensification of physical exercise, breathing, meditation should be practiced during this year to hasten the change, as the pattern of the past Kundalini activity wanes and regenerative direction now forms new patterns. Kundalini's redirection after age 48. The Kundalini is the life of man. If it flows out to other physical plane beings, as it is beginning to at this time in our communities, with an effort to produce offspring, but for the pleasure of it and not producing offspring, with beings of an opposite sex, the force feeds out for many years to come. Its energies toward the being of the opposite sex the individual had intercourse with. This causes subconscious areas within the individual mind of the person and stratums of a conglomerate of mind energy. The redirection of this Kundalini force occurs at the age of 48 to the age of 54, we have discovered, and if intensive exercise of the physical body occurs, in placing it into quiet positions one after another, while breathing deeply and with regularity, as well as praying to the devas and deities, this redirection can be accomplished in one circle. When the accomplishment has been made, it will manifest itself quite obviously, as attributes of the very core of the nature of the individual will change. And we have found that should a family man become a sadhaka at the age of 48 or to 54, this new direction of the Kundalini in its own natural phase of unfoldment would again be hastened. The tapas of midlife transition. If a monastic in yellow or orange at this time in his life goes through this change, it will be imperceptible if his guru is in his physical body, for a great stability and natural darshan will be present to sustain him. Should his guru not be in his physical body at this time, additional tapas will have to occur to siphon this natural darshan through that automatically comes to one in yellow, and through that automatically comes to one in yellow and in orange. When this change of the Kundalini flow has occurred, this will be so strong it sometimes lifts the tapas of yellow and brings the monastic into orange. The monastic, however, through the time of this process of Kundalini change, must never let his darshan turn to fire, and must maintain equanimity that he has been trained to cause to occur constantly within him. The gurus of our time occasionally use this fire to intensify the tapas some of us were going through. We were never allowed this privilege, however. Governance of gurus in the Kali Yuga. The tapas controls the fire as the Kundalini makes its adjustments within us, as we serve in these great Shaivite monasteries preparing for the sleep of the Kali Yuga, when they will be no more than radiant vibrations permeating darshan, ready to spring up again when the time is right. Our gurus will go forth in the Kali Yuga, the ones that do not leave the planet, to return at the end of that time and become the adjusters, the lawmakers, and the intelligence governing vast communities. Lord Skanda will back them, empower them, direct them, nullify the karma of their errors, and enhance their inherent success of intelligence prevailing over ignorance and evil through this time. Uma Ganesha, Skanda, and Lord Shiva. These Shaivite gurus of our time stand alone even now. Their innovations that we carry out come from Ganesha, Skanda, and Shiva, whom they counsel, and it is well known among us all that Lord Uma Ganesha overshadows, and Hanuman too, the senior members on the senior minority group of each monastery. To them the guru appears as Lord Skanda with Shiva in his head. Shiva stationary in the center of the universe. Lord Skanda travels among us all. Shiva moves from planet to planet above all, under all, in and through all. The two are one, yet appear as separate. Tapas quells the fire of Kundalini. Tapas is given by gurus of our time to nullify the harmful effects of the Kundalini fire upon our inner bodies as we come closer and closer to Shiva. Our performing tapas also nullify the effect of our fire upon the external body of the guru. We each have a direct connection with our guru. This connection is most sacred and is to be cultivated and preserved at all times, else we cannot remain in these monasteries and would have to tread for a time in the consciousness of those that live surrounding them until a connection is renewed and we beg entrance again and are accepted. For through this connection with the guru, created through the exuding power of Kundalini force to work as a team, we fulfill our purpose for all of us on our planet. The Guru's singular channel. These gurus cannot be approached by any of us. They are unapproachable. They cannot be communicated with by any of us. They speak with our deities, command the devas and genies who await their bidding. But they are bound to seek us out, for when we appear as Uma Ganesha in the senior minority group, our guru is there. He sought us out. He directs and advises and counsels and corrects, working directly with the guru. On occasion, a guru tapas, working with the guru himself, is given by him, who skillfully selects one who can fulfill the mission he has in store. When guru tapas is given, we are careful not to delve into his other areas of thought and activity, nor are we allowed to participate within the senior minority group. We wear yellow and take a more than humble position within any monastery we find ourselves. When traveling with him, our seniority is not lost in the monastery we started from, but guru tapas is never allowed to be concluded until we have stayed 1 moon within that monastery. Then we assume our natural position and duties there. The remedy for pulling on the guru. When a monastic is not handling his pattern of equanimity and humility well due to his connection with his guru, he will pull upon the forces of his guru. This, our guru of this monastery tells us, is quite harmful to the members of all monasteries. Therefore, at times, certain tapas is given by him through the senior minority group, with or without explanation, to allow the individual monastic pulling upon his guru to release, so that he, through the intensity of the tapas, can pull upon a new fibrous current of Kundalini force, thus strengthening his inner body in its connection with the outer, annihilating the ramifications of thought and renewing the destiny to be attained by throwing his forces back on himself. It is in this way, our guru tells us, that the deities and himself can give great assistance of stability and of giving a regulated force rather than being pulled upon and taken from by the indiscriminate monastic going through a trying time. This power that our guru has been accumulating for many yugas now is so subtle and refined that it is not noticed when we are one with him, but felt and missed when we are not. Tapas, turning Kundalini into fire of certain kinds of heat and intensity for certain specific purposes, is the method of cure of Shaivite gurus on the planet at this time. So therefore, each Shaivite monastery is complete within itself, appreciating and even expecting our guru to visit, but always knowing he is near and in direct communication with the Uma Ganesha of our senior minority. For his existence is our existence and fulfillment. Our guru's implacable disposition. Our Guru never discussed anything with us when we performed Guru Tapas with him or were in the seat of Ganesha within a senior minority. Listened to the information that we gave him and spoke out our answers and directions directly and precisely. We usually wrote it down for clarity to persist. He answered our questions, and when nothing of importance occurred, entertained us with his merriment and spoke of unusual things that he saw within the inner worlds that we could not see. Everything was perfect, is perfect, and will be perfect, even through the darkness of the Kali Yuga, as far as he was concerned. This was difficult to totally encompass, though the philosophy is well founded in these changing times, as the imposing darkness of the next yuga already casts certain shadows in the minds of some who surround our monasteries. Mauna Tapas, the remedy of quietude. Mauna Tapas, that of silence, was given by our Guru to those who concerned themselves with the community that surrounded our monasteries so thoroughly they could not forget it after they entered the monastery as sadhakas. They would travel past our walls at night, and the guards could not stop them. They would move so fast and with such desire. Though their desires are noble and motivations clearly beneficial, we'd rather that they stay within the monastery and attend a lecture, the dissemination of great teaching from our guru, or one of the neighboring gurus in the second world. When speaking does not occur, thinking loses forcefulness. New channels of kundalini are then activated, and external concerns beyond monastery walls become only fleeting interests. This tapas was more than often employed by guidance of the sadhakas or monastics in yellow, who could not remain here with us all at night, his only escape from us being the merger into the central sun, the self beyond all the planets, universes, and their complications which involve our perceptive insight and understanding. During tapas of certain natures, such as Mauna tapas, herbs should be taken to strengthen the connection to the inner bodies. Any kind of these herbs that do not have to be prepared by heating them, but picked and eaten occasionally, should be used. Seniority staffs, wands of power. As I look out from this space where I write, before committing this document to the inner ether to be read at another time, I see the youngest among us all here struggling with the choice of a new senior minority group. He has forgotten the formula, and one of the more mature monastics is helping him. He's holding a stick in his hand and asking the meaning of some of the notches he had not discovered before. Around the top of the stick, which is square with a rounded top, the mark of Shiva, is a group of notches on each other, and then below them a line carved around, separating one group of notches from the other group of notches. On one corner there is one notch above the line carved around, indicating the physical age. On the next corner, two notches, as we turn the stick clockwise, indicating monastic age, all three of which are indicated by notches below depicting a circle. On the fourth side are four notches indicating residency within the monastery, and these little notches, more close together than the others, indicate moons, with a larger notch interspersed in between indicating a circle. The older the monastic became in one of these four areas, the longer the stick had to be, and the notches were placed together, as are mountain ranges and their valleys. And so, even by the length of the stick, this monastic is telling the younger one can interpret the seniority of one monastic and another. These sticks in later years became wands of power, and energies could be transferred through them for a given end. They were kept most carefully, tucked neatly in the back of the waist, remaining always as a symbol of our Lord Skanda deep within our spine. The Guru's quizzing of Ganesha. Once an Ganesha was chosen by the little one, our Guru would meet with him and test him as to his knowledge of the Shastras by asking him questions as if he did not know the answer within the Shastras, for him to solve through his knowledge of them in solving current problems and situations. The solution was always there within the Shastras. The monastic consulted with Ganesha himself and sought the answer within his wisdom and our Shastras. When Shastric knowledge was memorized and juggled in wisdom, he became a perfect channel for Ganesha to work through in keeping all of us in our proper categories in time and space. appreciation of Shastric astuteness. If any of us had been in the monastery for any significant length of time, we studied the Shastras most faithfully and brought to the forefront of our knowledge much of which we took for granted in our culture, and though we knew and memorized it in our early training, we live it so well now that it has been forgotten. Our Guru was always pleased when we were so astute that we would bring forth the solution, the answer, the direction, the tapas to be given, that he is in his own wisdom have told us. Prior to entering one of the Shaivite monasteries, a sadhaka was expected to settle all worldly affairs, and after entering never look back. For it was found that the young monastic was physically attached to his mother until 24 physical years of age, and if he allowed himself to brood over the past and mentally visit his family, it would strengthen the psychic bonds and cause the confusion and unhappiness within the home. Likewise, the monastic who put full energy into his monastic life transferred to his family some of the darshan he was experiencing, creating a harmonious and happy home. Each young sadhaka made every effort to disconnect the psychic tubes that tied him to his relatives and weld them tightly to his guru, whom he deemed to be his new mother and new father. Alm. Alm marks time's continuum. The end is always a new beginning. Here are patterns of the past that forge cultures of the future for each monastic, a sustainable life born of love for God, gods, and guru, necessitating detachment from his birth family to enter his spiritual family. Keeper of the race is mother. Her importance will be felt in the Kali Yuga. Her neglect or unlimited caring will change humankind. Guru Deva. Chapter 27. Family Ties. Outside the walls, in the community, in some of the homes of enlightened family men, constant training of potential sadhakas goes on. It generally commences after the age of puberty, for then a young man automatically detaches from his mother. This is about 12 years of age. It takes another 12 years for the final detachment to occur, during which time he is primarily trained by the pattern his father sets for him, or he is taken by a guru from his family home and placed in the home of a brahmachari family, a family that has no sexual intercourse, for training to enter the monastery. With special permission, a young soul might enter his family's household as early as 9 or 10 years of age, and the monastery as early as 14. If any attachment exists to mother or the rest of the family after the age of 14, it is only diminishing attachment, and if any attachment exists after the age of 24, other than love, respect, and honor to the mother on the part of the son, it is on the part of the son himself because of his not being sure of his way in the world and his seeking to reattach to his mother through psychic means. Detachment from family and friends. Therefore, at any time after the age of 14, up to the age of 24, he is accepted into one of our Shaivite monasteries after proving himself, having settled his worldly affairs and obtained the good feeling of mother and father as the diminishing attachment fades away. If he enters the monastery after the age of 18, he should simply courteously and lovingly beg leave of his mother, father, and friends by informing them of his new position in sadhaka life that he hopes to attain by sitting by our wall. Then he should never look back, for that would strengthen the psychic bonds that are in the process of diminishing from the age of 18 to 24 and cause congestion and confusion in the nerve system of the family. Hanuman's assurance to the mother. It is the Hanuman of the senior minority group of each monastery who should make an effort to talk with his mother so that she feels secure and is assured that he will be well trained and cared for, even though she full well knows the nature of these monasteries. The mother needs this assurance for her son, that he be trained well and that some person within the monastery will continue to raise and love him, for she is still psychically attached to him by a great tube of second-world matter, which, though diminishing, still exists. This tube is an extension of the umbilical cord that has with them both at birth. Once the Hanuman has made the mother feel as secure as possible that her son will be treated with due reverence and respect, and the entire senior minority group has satisfied itself that the entire family is not overly objecting to his decision, but relatively pleased, his life as a sadhaka begins, directing the sexual forces after puberty. Puberty begins when the awareness of the soul comes into the animal nerve system as a result of being in this particular kind of fleshy body. Before this time, the body is maturing and growing, and the nerve system of the soul's inner body governs it, much like it did when we had our original fibrous bodies. But when 4 cycles have passed, the external structure becomes firmed and strong, and the instincts for mating occur. Therefore, it is important that these forces be carefully directed so that the soul is not clouded by instinctive drives and still maintains its inner contact with the 3 worlds. Stages of heightened divinity. When the soul is in a 6-year-old physical body, he is in divine consciousness and in tune with the 3 worlds. At this time, the height of divinity is manifest through him. He only comes again into this state after the age of 54, which continues to the physical age of 72, and then again enters this stage after the age of 84, which continues on through the rest of his physical existence. From the age of 72 to the age of 84, he is able to strongly express spiritual intellect. This is the time great manuscripts are written that are passed on through our walls to family brahmachari men who train the youth to enter back through our walls. In writing this manuscript, I am in this age grouping and soon will be 81. The first rites of passage. This pure, childlike divinity of the inner body of our soul is full of life, spontaneously joyous. It is always there within these bony bodies, covered with flesh. It is only after the physical age of 6 years old that the awareness of the being comes into a slow understanding that he has a physical body. Therefore, in our temples, a ceremony is given at 6 years old as well as at birth, and the children are brought by their fathers after birth for the impact of the darshan. At 6 years old, the male child is brought to the temple, again at 12, at 18, and 24. These ceremonies mark a total change, destined to occur in his life and consciousness. So he is brought before our deity at these auspicious times in his life to receive the special impact of the darshan to sustain him through the next 6 years. Hair on the head, face, and body. At 6 years of age and before, the child lives in his head. His eye is open, undisturbed, and it takes great effort to keep the brow alive so that as the time wears on and the physical body changes, the force does not become drained from it. Special ceremonies in our temple are always being held for the refinement of our bodies. The hair that appears on the face and body indicates to us the unfoldment of the instinctive nature of the animal forces of that nerve system. We seek through ceremony and tapas to deactivate and disengage that nerve system, thus minimizing the growth of these hairs on the face and torso of the body, whereas the hair on the head was part of the original fibrous body. The hair on other parts of it, though, are from a mutation out of the animal kingdom, and they should never be cut off, but plucked out carefully and precisely while certain incantations are chanted. This aids in deactivating the instinctive drives of the animal nerve system, so that the refined nerve system of the soul can replace and fully take over those bodies of bone and flesh. Transferring psychic ties to the guru. It is the guru that is the mother, the father, the close relative to the young sadhaka, and hence every effort is made to transfer the second world psychic tubes connecting into his relatives, to weld them tightly with his guru. Sometimes they are given up willingly and joyously by the mother and father. Other times it is more difficult to pass them on, and they are felt to fade away after the age of 24. Then rapidly new psychic connections must be made with the guru, else there is a tendency for the young monastic to feel disconnected from the monastery itself and wander out beyond its walls, for it is not allowed to be connected fully with one's guru and parents at the same time. Importance of mother's blessings. It is in accordance with our law that at the point that the young disciple recognizes his guru and seeks entrance into one of our monasteries, it is the mother that must inwardly give blessing and assurance of harmony and forbearance. If she overtly objects by causing confusion or unhappy conditions, this signifies she holds tight to the psychic bonds and is not inwardly ready to release her offspring. If the guru were connected also to the young disciple, other than showering out a general love, her upset would be felt through his nerve system, and the monastics working closely with him, even the entire senior minority group of the monastery he was seeking entrance into. So strong is the mother's attachment to her son in these fleshly bodies of ours. Discerning the mother's disposition. If the condition of the mother at the time the son departs to sit before the monastery wall is relatively calm, and no argument or confusion occurs, this indicates her blessing and forbearance. Or if she cries, that is good and constitutes an inner dissolving of the psychic cords. Or if she sends a gift, large or small, with her son to the monastery, or before him or after him, this indicates her surrender to his destiny, even though she may have caused an unhappy condition of confusion and misunderstanding before. A silent gift speaks of the current inner state of her releasing him, and is a confirmation of her blessing and goodwill. For until he passes age 24, she does have the power to object and upset the nerve system of all concerned. Families adjusting to separation. It is considered that the blessing of the mother is like the darshan from the guru, an unspoken feeling. Our gurus cannot explain their darshan or even feel the effects of it, as a mother cannot explain her feelings. It is during this time on the planet that families are very close. Life in them is warm and beautiful, and the attachments are strong. In the years to come, in the Kali Yuga, this may not always be so. Therefore it is with much difficulty a young man withdraws from his family and enters one of our monasteries. But more than usually, when he informed the family he was entering the monastery, or their guru told him this, they adjusted quite readily. Wisdom bequeathed to the future. I shall leave you now with this, that I have written in assurance that it may be found in the akasha of the inner mind when needed most. Timeline. There are various theories regarding the length of the yugas or eras, and where in the vast span of time we are today, the most widely accepted view in the Hindu tradition dates the beginning of the Kali Yuga at 3102 BCE. Others believe we are beginning the Sat Yuga, and some, such as Sri Yukteswar, have calculated we are in the Dvapara Yuga. The scrolls say that our Lemurian calculations of time will not be translatable into calendars of the Kali Yuga, so at that time there will be confusion about the length of time each yuga is supposed to contain. But it is discernible when another yuga is imminent by the changes that occur within the population. According to Hindu scriptures that speak of such matters, Manu Samhita, Surya Siddhanta, and the Puranas, the length of the Kali Yuga is 432,000 years. If we use the most widely accepted dating, we are just beginning the Great Sleep, and Earth will not see the dawn of the Sat Yuga for roughly 427,000 years. Through the last 25 years, in reading Lemurian scrolls within our monasteries, we came to accept the view given in this holy text that the Kali Yuga is now slowly coming to an end. So we were content to live with the disparity between some Hindu views and the assertions in this text. That is, until we decided to release Lemurian scrolls to the world. It was then that I asked one of my acharyas to study the matter in detail. This humble timeline is the result. It is not meant to be a definitive final word on the matter by any means, but a tool for better understanding the times spoken of in the scrolls compiled for this book. It reflects the dating given in the Lemurian scrolls, drawing on the links of the major time periods of the Hindu system, and places that dating alongside key dates of modern scientific and archaeological discoveries. We began our time quest by determining what yuga we are in now, according to the Lemurian scrolls. Paragraph 163 states that the Sat Yuga will dawn when the inhabitants of Earth are able to light the night with their own devices. This history tells us occurred in 1879 when Thomas Alva Edison invented the incandescent light bulb, and within 3 decades electric lighting was commonplace. So from 1879 we worked backwards. Using the traditional length of the Kali Yuga as 432,000 years, we calculated that the Kali Yuga must have begun approximately 430,000 BCE. Lemurian scrolls prophesied that the Kali Yuga would begin when man begins to kill one another. As indicated in this timeline, modern science verifies that man killed man as early as 450 to 350,000 BCE, as evidenced by skeletal remains found in Africa of a human who had been scalped by a stone knife. Continuing afterwards in time through the yugas in this way, we discovered to our astonishment that science's dating corresponds with many of the major earth changes described and dated in Lemurian scrolls. A note about terminology. It is important to understand that the word yuga, meaning an era, can refer to various periods of time. We found this useful information when studying out the scroll's various key references to yugas, because at first they seemed confusing, even contradictory. After some deep meditation and prayers sent to the holy devas through the sacred fire at Kudavul temple, the answer to several apparent conundrums came to light. The key was in the phrase cycle of yugas, which all these years we took to mean the duration of the 4 repeating eras, Sat, Treta, Dvapara, and Kali Yuga, which is the cosmology of Sanatana Dharma, last a total of 4,320,000 years. This is also called a Mahayuga, Great Age, or Chaturyuga, Fourfold Era. In fact, in many cases, this we understand now to be the correct meaning, such as in paragraph 8. When the next Sat Yuga arrives, those who have lived through the cycle of yugas will all finish their evolutionary processes and leave. More divine souls will come during that time as the cycle repeats. But in studying Lemurian scrolls alongside science's knowledge of Earth's development, and in the assertion of various other schools of thought, it was evident that in certain key places, cycle of yugas was referring to a far vaster period of time. So we looked to the next larger increment in the remarkable system of Hindu dating, called the Manvantara. It is an enormous period lasting, yes, 308,478,000 years. Each Manvantara consists of 71 Chaturyugas. For example, paragraph 26 of Lemurian Scrolls states, during the second cycle of yugas, celestial beings arrived from other planets, bringing with them vegetation. Here, by interpreting cycle of yugas as Manvantara, the statement concurs with the discoveries of modern archaeology. Science states that the first plant and animal life appeared on Earth during this second Manvantara, which began approximately 61 million years ago. A Manvantara, from the Sanskrit Manu and Antara, meaning an age of a Manu, or man, roughly corresponds to the length of time it takes our solar system to make a complete evolution around the central sun, or galactic center. According to current scientific estimates, it takes 260 million years for our sun to make one revolution around the center of our galaxy, which is not far afield from Hindu scriptural datings of 306,720,000 plus the Sandhya twilight of 1,728,000 years for a Manvantara cycle. We must keep in mind that a year is a period that can also vary in these vast time frames, as the Earth's orbit around the Sun has been constantly changing since the Earth came into being. As we proceeded through our time study, carefully interpreting each cycle of Yuga reference, the following timeline unfolded. Herein are cited significant events throughout Earth's history as told or predicted in Lemurian scrolls, side by side with the findings of modern science, along with research by Hindu astrologers Pandit G.S. Sampath, Iyengar, and Vamadeva Shastri, Dr. David Frawley. One final note regarding the beginning of the Kali Yuga. There is a slow transition between one Yuga and the next called Sandhya, a word used to denote the twilight transition while one era is subsiding and the next has yet to fully dawn. Part of the population lives in the next while the rest is embedded in finishing out the last yuga. There are always forerunners of the race and investors and implementers of positive changes. Our last Kali Yuga began to end as the Satshiva Yuga began to show the dim light of dawn when lighting the night was achieved. But the Kali Yuga will have truly ended for all when the sun is seen to peak the horizon of a peaceful ocean, when the last person is killed by another, when killing among people ends forever. True ahimsa reigns. This is the hallmark, the benchmark, the prophets say, of the true sunrise of the Sat Yuga. We are admonished to be patient, awaiting the most eventful day. It will come to be sure. It will inevitably come. Sri Swami Shyamendra Paramahansa of Laxman Jula, a modern Satguru of the Kashmir Shiva school, wrote in 1994 the following lucid and informative description of Earth's four great ages. Golden Age, or Satya Yuga, 3.891 million BCE. The most recent Golden Age started in 3.9 million BCE and ran to the beginning of the Silver Age. In the Golden Age, the Earth remains in constant communication with beings of different planets and planes of existence. Many of the semi-divine races maintain homes and even cities or states on the Earth. The Earth is far more fertile, lush, clean, vibrant, and energized so that all people can obtain whatever they need just from natural resources. Gems, jewels, coral, and precious metals and stones of all kind are available in abundance and used widely. People are generally 18 to 20 feet in height and remain extremely powerful throughout their lifetime. The average lifespan ranges from immortality in the beginning of the Golden Age to about 200,000 at the end of the Golden Age. Long, extreme meditation and austerity to obtain superhuman powers are fairly common. Also, divine virtues are natural. Dharma exists in all of its 4 points: austerity, purity, compassion, and truthfulness. Silver Age, or Treta Yuga, 2.163 million BCE. In the Silver Age, people from other planets do not live or relate as intimately with humans, although they visit the Earth fairly frequently and impart knowledge to selected individuals. Only certain people from Earth have the ability to travel to other planets. There is great prosperity on the Earth, immense power, and advanced fields of science and art. People are physically 12 to 14 feet tall, very powerful with the use of mantras, and are mentally perceptive. The average lifespan of people ranges from 60,000 to 10,000 years. The solar dynasty remains in charge of governance on Earth. In the Golden Age, great palaces, cities, and assembly halls are built by supernatural powers. But in the Silver Age, human labor becomes compulsory. Dharma is still honored above all else and followed in 3 points: purity, compassion, and truthfulness. Copper Age, or Dvapara Yuga, 867,000 BCE. During the Copper Age, powerful beings from other planets and planes of existence appear even less frequently on Earth. They still appear to those who culture and evolve themselves. They grant boons, accept the offerings of yajnas, offer assistance, spiritual guidance, etc. Human beings are not as mentally and physically powerful as in the Silver Age. People average 8 to 10 feet in height. The average lifespan ranges from 3,000 in the beginning to 500 years at the close of the Copper Age. Accordingly, there are still great powers through the use of mantras, tremendous arts, and alchemical science. Whatever is presently accomplished through the technical feats now is accomplished through yoga and tantra in the Copper Age, which is not adverse to nature. The lunar dynasty is the presiding government. The black magical arts begin to grow. Most people are well rooted in the authentic wisdom of intergalactic history. This age recently ended approximately 5,300 years ago with the Mahabharata War. This was also the end of interplanetary communication for the human civilization. Dharma survives in 2 points: compassion and truthfulness. Iron Age, or Kali Yuga. 3101 BCE. In the Iron Age, vice spreads through the means of greed, intoxication, and overindulgence in sense gratification. When this is relied upon more heavily, humans become ignorant of their glorious past and begin doubting its existence. Soon complete reliance on manual labor and mental technological invention spreads worldwide. People grow physically weaker and are 4 to 6 feet in height. The average lifespan ranges from 100 to 65 years. Meditation, compassion, and purity are scarce. Because communication with other planes of existence is cut off, mankind believes he is the supreme being and therefore exploits the resources of the earth and universe. Governance is broken up across the globe, and power fluctuates between those with the latest technological advantages. Dharma exists only in one point: truthfulness. Timeline. First cycle. 923 to 304. 925,342,121. Scrolls. The first time period, Manvantara, referenced in Lemurian scrolls, begins determined by calculating backwards from 1879, when man first learned to light the night by his own devices. This is understood to be the first cycle of yugas, in which there is a relationship between Earth and souls from several major planets in the galaxy. In the Hindu time perspective, chanted today by priests at the start of puja, the universe was at this point in the fourth Manvantara of the 51st year of Brahma. Science. Earth becomes a recognizable but not yet habitable planet. Land masses are still forming with many volcanic eruptions. The Earth has undergone more than 2.5 billion years of development, and the universe is more than 15 billion years old. Second cycle. 616,994,121 million years ago. Scrolls. Second Manvantara begins. Science. Earth becomes habitable. Water evaporates, forming air. Scrolls. Earth is seeded by future populations. During the second cycle of yugas, celestial beings arrive from other planets, bringing with them vegetation. Their spaceships passing over the Earth's surface drop seeds and foliage. 435 million years ago. Science. First evidence of plant life. Scrolls. Souls come to Earth and incarnate as animals. Celestial beings came en masse and hovered over the Earth in large etheric bodies. Some became the birds and small and large animals. 410 million years ago. Science. First land animals appear. The third cycle. 308,446,121 years ago. The scrolls. The third Manvantara begins. 300 million years ago. Science. Evidence of dinosaurs. 120 million years ago. Science. Evidence of earliest warm-blooded animals. 65 million years ago. Science. Last of the dinosaurs disappear. The Satyuga. 4,318,121 years ago. Scrolls. 70 Chatur-yugas have passed in the third Manvantara, and Earth enters the Satyuga prior to the one we are in now. Beginning the 71st and final Chatur-yuga of the third Manvantara, science, human life appears. Scrolls. Celestial beings manifest earth bodies around the subtle form. In the Satyuga the air was thick and the earth lush and tropical. The thick clouds of gases and healthful substances floating in the air were the materials the divine souls that came to the fire planet, as they referred to it, would use to materialize a physical body around the etheric body of the soul to express through while living on earth. They acquired a full physical form and could eat normally as the animals did on earth at that time. Scrolls. First first temples are built to bring through more souls. In order to bring these divine souls through into physical form during the Sat Yuga, great temples to each of these planets began to form. The celestial beings would stand on the pedestal and absorb the earth's pungent substances, and with it materialize strong physical bodies. But through the thousands of years that passed, it became a very rapid process, and the entire earth became populated with celestial beings from several of the major planets in the galaxy. 3,500,000 years ago. Science. Evidence of hominids, first walking upright terrestrial animals, East Africa. Scrolls. As the Sat Yuga ended with the advent of the Treta Yuga, the ratio of divine beings to those entering the animal kingdom was something like 3 to 1. Treta Yuga, 2,590,121 million years ago. Scrolls. The Treta Yuga begins. The first human body originating in the animal kingdom develops as a result of the original body being eaten by animals. Many of these divine earthly bodies, constructed from fruit ambrosia, herbal essences, and the pungent air, could no longer fly, and have been eaten by the carnivorous beings of the animal kingdom. These souls got caught within the evolutionary cycle of the particular species that had eaten their original body. They finally cultivated a body similar to the first earth body devoured long ago. This human body had animal instincts and was difficult to live in. Scrolls. Many of the souls who came during the second Manvantara begin to evolve human bodies. Even during this yuga, the small animals from the second cycle of yugas are coming into human form. 2 million years ago. Science. Homo habilis appears, known as handyman, stone tools made by this species found in South Africa. 2 million years ago. Science. Australopithecus robustus, a vegetarian species, thrives in East Africa over the next million years. 1,900,000 years ago. Science. Evidence of first stone building in East Africa. Scrolls. Human flesh bodies are perfected. The Treta Yuga is a wonderful period in which intense cosmic rays still penetrate Earth. This makes such evolution possible as creating a flesh body that appears to be like the original one for these celestial beings caught in the animal reincarnation cycles to inhabit. These flesh and bone bodies will last through the Dvapara and Kali Yugas. 1,800,000 years ago. Science. Homo erectus considered the first humans appear. 2 skulls, one in Chad, Central Africa, and another in Dmanisi, Georgia, are found. Scrolls. Half are still in their original bodies. 1/2 to 1/2 was the ratio during the Treta Yuga. Toward the Treta Yuga's end, the ratio is 1 in the original body to 3 in the others. Scrolls. Souls avoid being caught in the animal kingdom. The few left who have original bodies will live in caves high in the mountains during the end of the Treta Yuga to avoid being caught in the fleshly hot body of the animal. It has been observed now that we are approaching the end of the Treta Yuga, that a sense of fear is being experienced for the first time as a result of eating wrong kinds of foods, along with losing some of the personal abilities to fly. Dvapara Yuga, 1,294,121 million years ago. The scrolls, cataclysms begin the Dvapara Yuga, and the race of celestial beings, having lost their original bodies, become grounded. The sign of our losing our ability to fly is the official beginning of the Dvapara Yuga's advent in space and time. Then vast substances will form and divide the land. Our prophecies read out that during the Dvapara and Kali Yugas, every celestial soul will either be in the animal body or in a human body made of its flesh, fire, and bones. Scrolls. Early Dravidians perpetuate Lemurian culture. The Lemurians that became divided from the others through the formation of vast bodies of water, so great they were unable to go around them through the thousands of circles, took on other ways of living. The Dravidians, formerly Lemurians, formerly the first priestly inhabitants, the leaders, the guardians of the primal race, have never had a break in continuity. 900,000 years ago. Science. Homo erectus migrates through Egypt, India, and Java to China. 450 to 360,000 years ago, science, early cave-dwelling Homo sapiens master the use of fire in China and later migrate to Britain. Scrolls, Earth's gravity is becoming stronger. Toward the end of the Dvapara Yuga, new magnetic forces will begin to develop so very strongly on the planet as the gravity on the Earth gets stronger and stronger, and nothing floats in the air anymore. Scrolls, as cataclysms began the Dvapara Yuga, so do they bring it to an end as the darkness of the Kali Yuga blooms. In the end of the Dvapara Yuga is seen the destruction of everything that had been built in the Treta Yuga in the dark area of the world. The races of light and the races of darkness become divided by water. The air becomes thinner. Everyone will try to influence everyone else through the powers of his mind. People try to convert other people to their religion and philosophy. No one is left on his own. Thought becomes very important to everyone. Everyone tries to program everyone else's thoughts. The destruction of this civilization will begin the Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga, 430,121 years ago. Scrolls, man kills man. The Kali Yuga begins. These books prophesied that when one of the first inhabitants of the fire planet is so antagonized by the building of these forces in the second world that he destroys the body of another inhabitant, that will mark the point in time and space when the Kali Yuga will begin. 450 to 350,000 years ago, science, Homo sapiens found scalped by a stone knife in Ethiopia. Scrolls, war and turmoil prevails. It will be during the Kali Yuga that a human kingdom will eventually fully come out of the different species of animals and form different groups on Earth, some of whom will be the predators of others. 150,000 years ago, science, Ice Age, cave dwellers are known to have inhabited Europe. Scrolls, climate changes. The atmosphere will change again in the Dvapara Yuga and Kali Yuga. Most of all of Lemuria will be under vast bodies of liquid during the Kali Yuga. 128,000 years ago, science, climate warms and the great glaciers of the Ice Age melt, causing seas to rise. 120,000 years ago, science, Homo neanderthalianus, Neanderthal man, a species with larger brains than Homo sapiens, appear. 100,000 years ago, science, in South and East Africa, Homo sapiens are known to have had the same brain size as they do today. 93,000 years ago, science, on the Indonesian island of Flores, Homo floresiensis, a species averaging 3 feet in height, lives contemporaneously with modern man. 70,000 years ago, science, Earth grows colder over the next 40,000 years. 30,000 years ago, science, Ice Age begins. During the last 2 million years, at least 10 ice ages have occurred. 30,000 years ago, science, Neanderthals vanish. Science, Native Americans spread throughout the Americas. Science, Dravidians, the Caucasian equator people, exist. 11,000 years ago, science, Homo floresiensis vanishes. 10,000 years ago, science, ice melts, seas again rise. Literature, Plato states that the legendary Atlantis sinks because of a cataclysm at the end of the last ice age. 8,576 years ago, astrology, beginning of Saptarishi era calendar. 10,000 to 7,500 years ago, science, advanced pre-Harappan cities exist in an area now submerged in the Gulf of Khambat off India's Gujarat coast. 7,000 years ago, science, farming begins in the Indus Valley. 65,000 years ago, astrology, Rig Veda verses, example 1.117.22, 1.116.12, and 1.84.13.5 say winter solstice begins in Aries, indicating the antiquity of this section of the Vedas. 5,000 years ago, science, early Harappa Valley civilization thrives. 3,139 years ago, science and astrology, Mahabharata war between the Kauravas and the Pandavas. 3,114 years ago, astrology, beginning of Mayan era calendar. 3,102 years ago, astrology, beginning of Kali era calendar according to contemporary Hindu scriptural calculations. Fourth cycle, 1879 current era, scrolls, fourth time period, Manvantara, referenced in Lemurian scrolls, begins. 1879 Common Era, Satyuga, modern history. Thomas Edison invents the incandescent bulb and man learns to light the night. Scrolls, the fourth Manvantara and current Satyuga begin when the inhabitants of the earth are able to light the night with their own devices. The SHIVAYA will begin through this one advent in time and space. 1945, modern history as chronicled in Lemurian scrolls, revolutionary advancements are seen in technology and communication, and a blending of the races begins. Let it be known that the original dictations, notes, individual summaries, essays, teletype, and computer files of Lemurian scrolls have by my own hands been destroyed on February 26, 1998 at 7:30 a.m., the time of a lunar eclipse, in a large fire in the fireplace of the Kadavul Hindu temple. This book you now hold in your hands is the final rendering of the revelations, carefully selected and edited by me, Satguru Shivaya Subramuniyaswami. Any time in future years that commenters or what are said to be writings of the original text or other interpretations of this work arise, they must be considered fraudulent and disregarded as such. I make this statement in wisdom to avoid misunderstanding that may come up in the future, as it often does. We can consider that what has happened in the past may, and most likely will, happen in the future. Below are the signatures of all who have witnessed the cremation of the earlier edition. Original dictations, analysis, and musing. They together attest that the copy of Lemurian scrolls you now hold in your hands is the final of finals and only authentic text. Satguru Shivaya Subramuniyaswami and undersigned monks. Conclusion. Honorably, we let this book lie on the shelf for 24 years, waiting to see if it would be useful and appropriate to each and all who are mystically inclined. Now we can with good conscience decree this as a most excellent and mature revelation that has stood the test of time. Over the years these Shastras have matured my monastic order, and close devotees who molded their lives according to the culture of the very ancient times ascribed herein. These scrolls eventually came and became the legend of human origin in our own holy orders of Sannyasa and Shiva Dharma Shastras, as do the Mayans have their stories of man's origins, as do so many other religions. The basic teaching in this remarkable tome, that man came to Earth from other planets over 4 million years ago, seemed revolutionary when we first received it, gracing the release of these scrolls. In early days, there were many discussions among the acharyas, swamis, yogis, and sadhakas of my order as to how, or even if we should release these revelations. To settle their mind, they were instructed to research other cultures, religions, and modern faiths as to their perceptions of the origins of man. They did, and that too was a revelation. They found that in recent times there has emerged a whole school of thought in modern science that understands and promotes the view of life's coming from other planets, in juxtaposition to the Darwinian theory that life began as a microorganism and slowly evolved to what we now know as modern humans. In 1997, scientists examined meteorites collected in Alaska 2 decades earlier, containing apparent fossilized evidence of simple life from Mars. During the months this book was being prepared for press, the world was viewing the red planet up close on TV, following the adventures of the first robot explorer as it studied the rock-strewn, rugged landscape and examined the composition of a small boulder called Yogi. Even more compellingly, as documented in our preface, man's extraterrestrial origins echo through the great creation myths of several of Earth's ancient cultures. According to a legend of Tibet's pre-Buddhist Bon religion, the first Tibetans descended from the sky to the mountain tops on ladders of rainbow light. Hindu creation accounts, as in the millennia-old Vedas, speak of the creation of humanity as a sacrifice, a yajna, a mystic rite through which the divine being is divided to create man. The Australian Aborigines, among Earth's oldest continuous cultures, preserves a perspective that it was the gods in our ancient past who established life on Earth. Legends of North America's Omaha tribe describe an early period in which souls or spirits sought a planet on which they could take physical form, a view exactly paralleling that of Lemurian scrolls. The host of the spirits descended and became flesh and blood. They fed on the seeds of the grasses and the fruits of the trees, and the land vibrated with their expressions of joy and gratitude to Wakanda, the maker of all things. Theosophists also speak of Earth's early non-physical inhabitants, and of the first groups traveling here from the moon. Their third root race, the first to take physical form, were called the Lemurians. A vision of Earth's early inhabitants. Indeed, this early time in Earth's history was revealed to me in 1973 when I inwardly saw great intelligences that were totally one with space, who moved through space as a jellyfish moves through water, but much more refined than that comparison. These beings, it was conveyed to me psychically, were the first original-bodied people spoken of in the text, and they indicated they will become an essence of intelligence. I, like you, who have now read this, had no knowledge of such happenings before the inner world beings brought these texts before my astral vision. It was as revealed to me then as it is now to you. Yes, considering the insights of Earth's ancient cultures, the findings of modern science, and the revelations of these Shastras themselves, the idea of life from beyond the Earth has, as the millennium draws near, emerged as a very real, some say highly probable possibility. Prior to this date, the Lemurian scrolls were only allowed to be studied or read to others by lifetime renunciates at auspicious times. In late 1997, it was planned to release them to a select group of longtime initiates. Then, surprisingly, in the midst of final preparations for publication of what would have been only a few hundred copies of this vast wisdom, the divine thrust came to release them freely to the world at large. Kartikaya, Lord of the Pleiades. It was our great Pleiadian god Muruga, known around the globe as Kartikaya, Subramuniyam, Sanat Kumar, Skanda, and Ku, who opened his most private library to us, revealing these scrolls, and personally helped through the years until now, the right time before his Tamil peoples experienced the year 6000 of their Hindu calendar, which happened April 13th, 1998. This definitely marked a turning point in the destiny of this 60 million strong Dravidian community. He is the multi-faced god of a variety of levels of intelligence. With his 6 faces he sees all. No devotee who comes to his over 100,000 temples, which remain alive and vibrant in his worship today, is neglected.